Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody tonight?
Tonight, we're going to have a pretty interesting show. There was an article that was brought to my attention by a listener, and this article was about a Dogman sighting, and it was a fairly fresh article, just from about 2 weeks ago. And the person that sent it to me wanted us to look into it and give our opinion on it. So I figured it would be a kind of a fun thing to do on the show because we've done Dogman a couple times, but we don't do a tremendous amount of Dogman videos. So I thought this would be a cool opportunity to examine this news report and talk about Dogman a little bit, and also talk about the area where it happened because that's extremely interesting too. So what we'll do right now is we will go ahead and we will read the article for you so that you have a decent idea of what's going on here. Okay, this article was in the Daily Star, and the title is Looked Like a Werewolf Running Around. The Terrifying Dogman of Lincolnshire. Exclusive. There have been reports of a giant dog-like creature in the region, dating back to the 1600s, and photos show something very strange could be going on. It is by Sophie Bateman, and it was published March 12th of 2020. Lincolnshire locals have been terrorized by a huge dogman creature for hundreds of years, a paranormal expert says. Lee Solway, host of the Realm of the Supernatural podcast, told Daily Star Online, there have been reports of a giant dog-like creature in the region dating back to the 1600s. Mr. Solway says there's a particular eerie encounter in 1995 when a local Grimsby official was notified by a security guard that something that looked like a werewolf running around had been spotted at a caravan park. When the man arrived on the scene to investigate, he found a van parked on the road with no one inside. Terrified locals hiding nearby called out to him to run, saying a huge wolf with glowing eyes had chased off the previous guard. The official never saw the creature, and the first security guard never returned to work. American cryptid fanatics have long documented sightings of the folkloric dogman, even capturing said creature on camera. The legend is described as a 7-foot-tall, blue or amber-eyed canine-like animal, with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl. The first reported sighting of the dogman in North America came in 1887, and there have been multiple accounts since then. Paranormal believers had a field day in 2018 when a mysterious creature was shot dead in a forest in Montana, puzzling scientists who couldn't work out what species it was. Photos of the animal's body show it had long, dark gray fur, an elongated snout, and a big head. Experts said its ears were too large and its legs and torso too short for it to be a wolf, which are common in North America. Wolves haven't roamed the UK for about 500 years, so sightings of large wild dogs cause much more alarm here. Nick Redfern, a lecturer and journalist who covers unsolved mysteries such as Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and UFOs, confirms there have been a number of reported dogman sightings in the UK. There was a spate of them in the summer of 2006, he wrote for Mysterious Universe. It was in late June of that year when all hell broke loose. Reports flew around Staffordshire, England's Cannock Chase woods, to the effect that nothing less than a fully grown wolf was wildly roaming the area. Early on the morning of June 28th, motorists on Junction 10A of the M6 motorway near Cannock jammed highway's agency phone lines with reports of a wolf-like creature that was seen racing between lanes at rush hour. Motorists stared with utter disbelief as the 3-foot-long beast, described as grayish-black, racing between lanes, skillfully dodging cars before leaping for cover in nearby trees. There's evidence of other phenomena in Lincolnshire that seem to indicate strange activity in the area. Realm of the Supernatural co-host Finchy took a photo of 2 bloody deer legs strewn across A18 near Humberside Airport, soon after a huge creature described as darker than night was spotted nearby. Mr. Solway also photographed a bizarre twisted tree in Willingham Woods, marked raisin that had been violently broken, as though a large creature had swept past it. He doesn't buy many people's assumption that those who have sighted the Dogman were just on drugs. They'd be some very good drugs to let you see that. And that is the end of the article. This article honestly was a bit confusing, and I'll explain why, because they begin with the title, the headline, that makes you think that there's some new sighting that they're going to be talking about. And then as you go through it, it's kind of a mix match. It's like a potluck dinner where all these different things are thrown in. They all kind of fall under one main theme, but it really has nothing to do with what the article is supposed to be about. For example, the supposed dogman that was shot in Montana. And then they show a picture that was put out by the Montana Fish and Wildlife. And this thing doesn't look anything like what they supposedly saw in England. The thing that the Montana Fish and Wildlife put out was an animal. It wasn't a humanoid werewolf type creature. It was literally, it looked like a big dog. It looked a lot like a bear and a dog combined, if that makes sense. Like the only part of it that you would look at and say, okay, that's a dog is kind of the snouty area, like the snout area. But if you take in the whole animal, it looks like some weird, misshapen, malformed bear. I'd be interested to know if they ever did any kind of DNA testing on that thing to see what it actually was. If that picture was indeed put out by the Montana Fish and Wildlife, then we can safely assume that it was an actual animal that was killed, that actually happened. But the problem is it does not resemble in any way what most people think of when they think of Dogman. It was thrown into the article to try to prove the existence of Dogman, to try to say, look, this has credibility because, look, they killed one. But in all reality, that's not what everybody thinks of when they think of Dogman. And here's the first major problem that we run into here. Because when I or most people think of Dogman, we think of essentially a werewolf. That is what comes to mind. But if you talk to some people that are really into Dogman, they will tell you that there's many different kinds of Dogmen. I've heard 4, I've heard 5, I've heard 8, I've heard all kinds of numbers. And some would say that you have one type of Dogman being a werewolf-like creature, and you have another type of Dogman that would resemble an actual dog that runs around. To that, I would say that just doesn't make any sense. That pollutes the whole thing. It confuses the issue. You need a fairly well-defined description of a creature. If you're telling me that some dogmen look like werewolf and then other dogmen just look like dogs, well, to that I would say, okay, well then that's 2 separate creatures. You need a different name. There's no way that there can be one creature named Dogman, and sometimes it looks like a werewolf, and sometimes it looks like a wolf, like a regular dog. Those are 2 drastically different descriptions. So all that's really happening is you're confusing the issue. So what I would suggest, in my humble opinion, my suggestion would be, let's call them different things. Because the majority of people that are talking about Dogman are talking about a humanoid type creature that resembles like a werewolf. You see this with other things as well. You see it with Chupacabra. That's another great example of this. Because Chupacabra, according to the Mexican legends, was always this little reptilian-looking, scary-ass creature. And then they had this dog-like creature with a big old head that they filmed running down a dirt road in Texas. And they started saying that was Chupacabra. Well, all that is either it's a coyote or something like that with mange, or it's a separate species, but it's an animal. That does not resemble in any way the original description of the Chupacabra. I think this is done to try to lend some kind of credibility to the tales so that people think, oh yeah, Dogman's real, it's this little dog creature here. When in reality, that's not what they were talking about in the beginning. Does that make sense? Now, no disrespect. I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody or upset anybody about that. Just as a person that is trying to look at this and make sense of it, that it makes it very difficult when you have multiple descriptions of the same creature that are so different. That would make somebody looking from the outside say it's all BS. Because say you're dealing with a crime, okay, a murder, a robbery, something like that, and you're looking for the suspect, and you're trying to get a description of the suspect. Now, if a couple people that saw it say, "Oh yeah, it was a 7 foot tall, gigantic, muscular man with tattoos all over his body. He's the one that killed that person." And then you have a couple people over here on this side that say, "Yeah, I was there. I saw the whole thing. It was a midget. It was this tiny 2 foot little midget who was wearing a pointy hat and riding a tricycle. He's the one that did it." And then another group of people over here say, "Oh no, you're both wrong. It was a guy in a wheelchair that was playing a flute. He's the one that did it." You see how confusing that'll get? And then somebody looking in is going to say, this is hogwash. It's nonsense. They don't even know what the hell the person looks like that did it. They're all full of it. Now, I'm not saying you're all full of it. I'm just saying that's what it appears like when you can't even agree upon a description. Now, I think what you had here in this article is you had them trying to write an article on a subject that they didn't know anything about. So they got this guy that does a podcast apparently or something who claimed to be an expert, or maybe he is an expert. I don't know. I don't know who the fella is. But he's giving them information to put in this article. And I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. What I'm saying is he probably threw in that Montana case to try to lend some mainstream credibility to the werewolf type creature that he was describing. So he's saying, well, look, they shot one here, and they're saying it might be a dog man. But for whatever reason, the person writing the article never thought to say, no, wait a minute. Here you're talking to me about a werewolf, and here you're talking to me about a little dog. That makes no sense. Which one is it? That's a problem. Another problem that I have is I don't understand how, if you're talking about sightings up in England, okay, up by Cannock Chase, why would you use a totally different looking creature in Montana to lend credibility to that sighting? That makes no sense either. Now, I'm not saying that this article is complete and absolute nonsense. I'm not saying that Dogman is complete and absolute nonsense. I actually think that there might be something to the whole Dogman thing. Something is happening there. There's too many people that have seen this thing. But we need to agree on what this thing is. Now, you can have different theories on the origin and all of that. That's cool. You can have different theories on the behavior of it, all those kind of things. That's cool. But we have to, in some way, agree on a general description of the thing. Otherwise, there's no way you're ever going to get a good answer. Because if you got people looking at sightings of tiny dogs, and you got people looking at sightings of giant werewolves, and you got people looking at sightings of all kinds of different creatures, and they all fall under the umbrella of Dogman, it's going to be like trying to catch a greased pig. You're never going to get your hands on it. It's just too much. Now, if you're using Dogman as an overarching term to describe all these other creatures, that might make sense. Like, in other words, if you're using Dogman like you would use the term fairy. Now, when most people think of fairy, they think of Tinkerbell or something like that. But there's all kinds of different creatures that fall under the heading of fairy. You have leprechauns, you have goblins, you have trolls, you have the fae, you have all these little things that fall under that title of fairy, that are all technically fairies, but they're not fairies like the modern public would think of as a fairy. But when you go back to folklore, they fit that description. But they all have separate descriptions. Now, if you're using Dogman like that to describe a whole bunch of different creatures, then okay, I get that. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people referring to Dogman as a singular type of creature, and there's no agreement upon the description. So that confuses the hell out of me. One thing that they talked about in this article that is extremely interesting is Cannock Chase. They mentioned that in the article, is where these new sightings were supposedly happening, were in that area. Cannock Chase is up in England in this area, and it is notorious for all kinds of crazy going-ons. you've got a long and rich history of werewolf sightings in this area. There are legends going way back in time of werewolves there. There are modern day sightings of werewolves there. And you have now Dogman sightings there. You also have a rich and long history and modern accounts and tales of vampires in those woods. You also have stories of shadow people. You have sightings and witness accounts and stories of UFO activity in those woods. You have accounts and stories of multiple different instances of black magic and witchcraft coming from those woods. You have stories of satanic gatherings and different rituals and stuff being performed there. There are just a ton of different sketchy and paranormal type things that go on in the area. Now, there's a lot of theories to why that is. Some people think it's like a portal to hell kind of place where the veil between worlds is thinner and all kinds of crazy stuff can come through. Other people think that the land there is cursed for whatever reason. There's a lot of different theories on what it could possibly be. One story talks about a deal that was made with the devil in those woods. According to a local legend, things started getting very crazy there in 1975. And they say that a 17-year-old boy who was from central England went to the woods there at Cannock Chase with his Ouija board. And he wanted to test out the power of the Ouija board and all that. So according to the legend, he said that he would trade his soul to the devil in exchange for the power to turn into a werewolf. Now, supposedly shortly after that, a friend of his says that he received a phone call from the boy, but all he could hear were these strange, guttural, wolf-like sounds coming from the phone. Not too long after that phone call, that young boy was found dead, and they found that he had committed suicide. He had killed himself using a silver knife. Now, I guess the thought there is that the knife being silver would be able to kill him if he was a werewolf. So according to that legend, the boy was successful in his deal with the devil and became a werewolf, and that's what started all this. But you have werewolf sightings going back much further than that. You have a lot of sightings that are occurring around a local cemetery in the area. This cemetery is devoted to the remains of thousands of dead soldiers. Now, they found a lot of different evidence around that cemetery that lead people to believe that it is a place that werewolves go to. They have had pets that have gone missing from homes in that area, and they have found several mutilated animal carcasses near the cemetery. The thought here is that the werewolves are feeding on these animals and leaving what they don't eat behind. But keep in mind the history of the area as well and all the things that they say are seen there. With all that stuff, it could be werewolves, it could be some kind of ritual performed by Satanists or witches that call for animal sacrifice and mutilation. It could be an alien thing. There are a lot of UFO sightings in that area, so you could have the same thing happening with the pets there that are happening to cows in Texas, where they're literally being split apart and all the blood drained from them and all kinds of crazy stuff. But either way, you're having a lot of dead animals show up. A strange thing about the tales of werewolves in Cannock Chase is that in a lot of the werewolf legends, the werewolf will turn into a werewolf when the moon is full. In Cannock Chase, the werewolves don't exactly follow this rule. You have a male person, a male man, who claims that he witnessed a werewolf in the middle of the day while he was delivering the mail. He said that at first he thought that the creature was simply a large dog, but he was shocked when the animal that he thought to be a large dog stood up on its hind legs and ran into the woods like a man. You have several different witness accounts that are similar to that. So whatever this is, it seems to be a werewolf all the time, during the day as well, and it can do whatever it wants. Now, one of the theories about the werewolves of this area, and also one of my personal theories about Dogman, is that they are the product of some sort of strange and sick government experiments. One of the theories is that after World War II, the governments of England and the United States started conducting human experiments that were very similar to what the Nazis and the Japanese had done. One of these experiments was the crossbreeding of a human with a pig. And according to this story, it actually worked. They created a pig man, a pig human hybrid. But supposedly, according to this legend, this pig person escaped and hid in the woods of Cannock Chase. One witness that has seen this pig man has reported that it was 7 foot tall, that it had the head of a pig and had a giant snout. Now that might sound kind of nuts, but we do know from declassified documents from multiple different countries that experiments just like this were taking place. We know that governments have been trying to crossbreed different species and create different things. The liger is a perfect example of this being done in the public eye. This is where they took a lion and a tiger and created a separate creature. But this was being done by governments to try to create super soldiers, to create a human soldier with capabilities and powers of different animals as well. I think that's what Dogman very well could be. It could have been a product of some sort of government experiment that escaped. Maybe there were more than one, and they escaped, and they have been creating more. The way that normal animals create other animals. They're getting together and having babies. Who knows? If you're seeing Dogman sightings in multiple places around the planet, that would make sense. Because if the United States is working on it, then you can guarantee that the countries that are enemies of the United States are rivals, such as Russia, China, places like that. They're working on it too. Because that's kind of the way it works when you have this top secret military research. If one country is working on something, all the other countries that have the capabilities are going to try to do it too, because they don't want anybody to have an advantage. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt this has taken place. There are declassified documents from the CIA, there are declassified documents from the KGB that prove that there was experimentation done where they were trying to create super soldiers out of combinations of men and different animals. They call them human animal chimeras. 100% true. Is that what Dogman is? That's a hard question to answer. We don't know for sure. I think it could explain it. If what you're dealing with here is a limited number of creatures. Now, if what you're dealing with here is more along the lines of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, to where there's different kinds all over the world, and there's large populations all over the world, then I think that is a lot less likely. With Bigfoot, you have, like in the United States, for example, you have sightings here in Virginia where I am, you have sightings up near Pennsylvania, you have sightings in Florida, you have sightings in Texas, you have sightings in Northern California, you have sightings in Washington State. They're all over the place. That large of a population, I don't think can be explained by government testing or government experimenting. I just don't think it can explain that large of a population. It would explain having a few of these things in different countries because other countries would be working on it as well. But the only way there could be a large population like that is if this is an established animal that has existed for a long period of time. That would also explain the differences in the creatures. With Bigfoot, there's differences between the ones in the Everglades and the ones in Texas and the ones in Washington State, and they're different from like the Yowie and the abominable snowman up near Nepal, and the version that is in Russia is different. There's differences in the different Sasquatch from different countries. That would be explained if it was an animal by growing up and evolving in a different area. It's lived in this area for thousands of years or whatever, and it is accustomed and acclimated to that area, and it has developed according to that area. We see that in the regular animal kingdom. There are species of snake and stuff that grow up isolated on islands, and they've been there for generation after generation after generation, and they are different than the same species of snake in a different country. We see that with a bunch of different animals. So that makes 100% sense. I think the question is, what is the population of Dogman? That's something we have to figure out. And to figure that out, once again, we're going to have to agree on a basic description of what Dogman is so that we can count up witness reports and try to figure out a ballpark figure. It's just impossible to do if you don't define it properly. Now, I'll be very interested once this show airs on the radio and once it hits YouTube to see what is said down in the comment section. Because when it comes to Dogman, it is an extremely popular creature right now. And there are a lot of people that are working on Dogman. You have a lot of people that are just interested in it that don't really know anything about it, but you also have a decent number of actual good researchers that really know their stuff. So I'll be interested to see if there are any answers to some of the questions that I've raised tonight in the comment section of the video. If you're listening on the radio, please go to the YouTube channel and check the video out when it airs there and see what people are saying in the comment section. I think it'll be very interesting to see, because comment sections are a magical place sometimes. They can be toxic. Absolutely, they can be toxic because people say things in comment sections they would never say in person. But also, among all the trolls and the nonsense that happens sometimes, you will also have people that will give you gems of information. Just these amazing bits of information that are wonderful and really give you a kernel to start to look into. And then you kind of follow that rabbit hole that they've given you. And a lot of times you'll learn some really cool stuff that you didn't know before. And that, to me, is the benefit of having that open discussion and that open forum on each video. Like I said, sometimes it gets a little nasty, and I don't approve of that. I hope that people can be civil to each other. Now keep in mind, I am no Dogman expert. I never claimed to be, and I wouldn't even dream of telling you that I know everything about Dogman, because I absolutely do not. It's something that's interesting. It's something that I haven't looked into a great deal. I happen to think that it resembles the majority of the people that have described this thing to me. It resembles a werewolf so closely that I think that's what a Dogman might be, as a werewolf. To me, that makes a lot of sense. But like I said, I am by no means an expert in Dogman. This is something that we have dipped our toes in a few times, and I've done a little bit of research on, but nowhere near the amount of research I've done on other topics. So if you're one of those people that are listening to this show, and this is your jam, Dogman is absolutely your jam. You know all kinds of stuff about it. You've actually researched it, and you are just a fountain of amazing information on Dogman. Please share down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you know. Give us some interesting things to look into that would help to clear this confusion up when it comes to Dogman. The reason why I say that is because a lot of people that listen to the show are interested in the paranormal. They enjoy this kind of thing, but they're not hardcore researchers, some of them. So they're not spending hours and hours and hours looking into these things. And when you are somebody that has a great deal of information about a subject, in my view, it's a duty of yours to share that information with other people. And if you're somebody that's passionate about Dogman, you kind of would want to do that anyway, I would think, because you're going to want people to take this seriously. You're going to want people to believe that Dogman might be a real thing and to look into it with you and help you find information. So it's a win-win for everybody. So that's about what I have to say about this article. I think Dogman is a real thing. I think there's something to it. I think it might be a werewolf. To me, that makes sense because the descriptions are similar, but I don't know for sure. All right, I'm going to throw over to Old Boy now and get his opinion on this.
And thank you, brother. I just want to thank whoever did this because we're doing another Dogman show, and this has been one of our most popular shows because we've done it with, with Chris, and this has always been a unique thing anyway because we've always liked talking about Dogman and werewolves in general. And Cannock Chase is pretty crazy place because there's always been seen vampires, werewolves, Dogman, shadow people, aliens, anything, witches, black magic, Satanism, all kinds of stuff has gone on. Now, this thing they're saying now about the security guard with the 7-foot monster, I don't think that's Dogman. But see, the thing is, I've talked to my friends before, and there's different Dogmans. There's like 8 different versions of this thing, or more than that, they're saying now. The werewolf-looking one, the one that looks like a dog/bear. This is what that thing looks like. If you guys see the picture in the article, it looks like a /dog bear. It's crazy looking. If it's real, like I said, you got to realize some of this stuff could, the way they have the angle to it. I have my opinions on it. It doesn't look like it could be a Dogman. It looks like this giant thing, like a kind of wolf. This guy was out in the middle of the woods, and this giant. You see like this. It looks like a wolf, and this dog runs after it. All of a sudden, this massive thing jumps out of nowhere. It's a giant, huge. It was like bigger than a timber wolf because timber wolves get really big. People don't realize that wolves get huge. This thing was huge, just like the one they did a video with. I think it was in Minnesota or Wisconsin. They showed this thing. It looked like a bear. It was like big as a bear, but it was a wolf. It was like mixed. It looked like a hybrid. And that's what it kind of looks like, a hybrid. Like, and in the other picture, you can't really see anything. It just looks like a bear. So and it comes like, they bring up about North America because there's always stuff being seen about Dogman since the 1800s and even before that. Because Cannock Chase, this stuff's been seen in the 1600s. I don't know where that came in. That's with the other story, but they're trying to say that there's a connection there. But if you see this thing, it just looks so. My opinion is doesn't look real to me. But I mean, that's my opinion because they only have one picture of it, and it's hard to tell. Whatever the hell it is, it's huge. And I won't say it's fake 100%, but I can't go by one picture. And it just shows half of it. So, and I've seen this picture before, and there's people have argued, is it real or is it not? So all I'm going to say is, you guys look at it. Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to do that. I think James is going to put the article up later. So you guys check it out. See what you guys think. Tell us our opinions on this. Because we always love doing about Dogman because it's a very popular subject. So are werewolves and vampires all together. Those are like our popular things. And shadow people. What you guys think about this thing. Because it's really big, huge pause. You could see like there's a lady outside of the picture. And she's walking by. And there's this big, it looks like it's in a big truck. Like a giant truck, like in the back of a pickup truck, or one of those bigger ones where you would load like wheat and I wouldn't say that oats or hay for if you have horses or something. That's what it looks like. It's like this on this giant truck bed. So it's really huge looking. And then there's another picture where it shows them like they're in the woods in Cannock Chase, but you can't see anything. It just, you see this big giant thing on a piece of wood. It looks like a bear. So I'm not going to say what that is. You can hardly see anything. You guys will see in the picture. You can't tell what it is. It looks like there's something there standing up, but it looks like a bear. Because bears are huge. Grizzlies get huge. Black bears get big. When they stand up on two, they're huge. They could look like a giant wolf. So people need to realize that at the middle of the night or something, you can see something standing up. And a bear, if you saw a grizzly stand up, they're huge, 8-9 feet on their feet or taller. when they stand on their two. James has dealt with that. He had one chase after him. He's told that story before. He had a giant grizzly or a black bear. I don't remember which one it was. I don't think it was a grizzly. I think it was a black bear mama. He ran too close to one of the cubs, and the mom went after him. He had to jump down off a cliff from getting eaten or getting killed, because there's only one way to go. And I don't think James wanted to kill the animal unless he had to, because James is he hunts for, he's a hunter, but he only kills not for game, for food, and that's it, or a necessity if the thing's attacking him. So he did what he could to not kill the bear, because I know how James is. He loves animals. He's an animal lover. So now this giant wolf, whatever it is, and Cannock Chase is weird, like I was saying, has a lot of stories, guys, for years about vampires, witches, werewolves, stuff running around. I'm not surprised. This is kind of like what happens in Wisconsin. There's a part, I forget what the name is. It's in Wisconsin, Michigan. There's this place just, they have all this stuff. There's Dogman is being seen there, Bigfoot, aliens, shadow people, Satanist groups, all kinds of stuff, witches. Some of these little areas, they're hotbeds for this. And this area in London is a hotbed, or not London, in England. Sorry, used to saying that. This is a hotbed for this stuff. So there's something going on. Do I think that this place is cursed because all the stories have been going from the 1500s? There's something going on there. Definitely. I don't know if it's Dogman or what's running around there, but there's something going on in this forest area. I wouldn't want to go by myself at night. I mean, I would do it. I'm not scared of anything. I would love to go to Cannock Chase, actually. Me and James going there when you guys like seeing tells or staring going in there, teaching one of these things a lesson, because we're not scared. That's what's going to probably be the end of us, but because we don't have no fear. But we would love to go there. Now, would I go there by myself? Probably, I don't know, because you can't carry guns in England unless you have certain permits. Like, you have to go through all kinds of stuff to carry a shotgun there. So I don't know if I would be roaming around there with nothing. Here in America, I would go to Wisconsin, because you can carry shotguns and stuff like that. But in England, they have very strict gun laws. A lot of people think they ban everything. They don't. You can belong to gun clubs, but you can only have like rifles and hand shotguns and stuff like that. So I don't know if I would want to by myself go there. All I'm going to say is I would still go, but this place is really eerie, has a lot of things going on, and I wouldn't mind doing a show event about Cannock Chase sooner or later. Cannock Chase, sorry. Couldn't get the word out sometimes. You know how I am. And I would like to do a show about all the stuff that goes on. And we're kind of doing it right now, but I would like to just do a whole show about it, because it's a really cool place. And that place in Wisconsin, if I can remember the name, where all the stuff is being seen there too, it would be cool. And then I guess in Indiana, there's all around that area in Northern California and up to Canada, there's always something running around there. Bigfoot, Dogman. There's all these creatures, and maybe there's something going on we don't know. Especially in Cannock Chase, there's something. Maybe there's a curse there. I mean, this stuff's going for 400 years, so maybe, or more. So did this place get cursed by something? Did like a witch put a spell like she did in Wisconsin? Maybe that. See, you got to remember, everybody migrated here to America. Some of these people, witches or whatever, could have snuck on. Some of the lichen wolf, whatever they are, snuck on to the boats when they came here to America and came here. You never know. We don't know what the hell was going on back then. There's, the old world to the new world, people don't want to believe anything. In the old world, we have found people had stuff locked away, like vampire kits. They believed in this stuff. That's what I mean by the old world. Back in the old century, they followed it. Even the priest in a church, they claim it doesn't exist, but they had people who went out and did, ghost hunting, exorcism, vampire killings, werewolf killings. Why, if it didn't exist, that it was talked about for years? You could read it in history books. If they didn't believe this stuff, then why did they have people go out and do all this? Then they did. So all I'm saying is you guys need to check this out, see what you think about this article, listen to this video, tell us what your opinion is. Let us know what you think. Canna Chase is haunted, or is it possessed? Not possessed, is it cursed? Is there something that happened at this, something really bad, it just cursed the whole land? Or is it just something evil? Because people will say that there's parts of the world has openings to hell. Kentucky's one of them. They're saying there's a part where it says the gateway to hell. There's a place in California. There's a place in Europe that, is there places to the underworld? Is this just a cursed area where people did rituals, bad things happen, and just these things are attracted to it? The darker the side of the woods, like the darker stuff that has happened, is it going on? Is there haunted in more places than others? Has there been so much stuff that's negativity that's happened? It's just these things it seems like these things are really attracted to a lot of negativity. And that's what I have noticed. So is it that what it is? They're just attracted to negativity in these negative areas, like dark areas, like the dark woods of Germany. There's a lot of stuff going on there, they say, with the same thing, weird looking creatures, banshees, werewolves, just bad things happen. So is this just some places are so cursed that they attract these creatures? Just like anywhere, like here in California, like there's some places like in Victorville, there's stuff that's attracted to that cemetery. The Rafe is there. There's ghosts, demons. And it was like a hot spot. It was like Merry Christmas if you're a ghost hunter, because that place has a lot of stuff going on there. Next time we'll go and do another show. We've done 100 times, but it's just such a good hotbed. But I think something happened there. And coming to find out, so you guys do know, they did a movie by that area. There was some famous book writer, I forget what his name is. I think it was Orson Welles. I forget which one. I don't want to say it's one of them. He wrote one of the books. I forget what the book was. I'll let you guys know the next time I look it up. But they're making a movie out here about this. See, a lot of people used to come to this area in the high desert in Apple Valley in the early 50s and 60s because the rich would retire here. Like Roy Rogers was here. He retired. Tom Selleck's used to live here. Cuban Gooding Jr. We've had a lot of people that used to retire to Apple Valley because at one time it was just for retirees, like Palm Springs was. This was the version of Palm Springs. People would come here. Roy Rogers had his museum here for years till they moved out of here about 8 years ago and went to Missouri. So this would be a hotbed for the movie stars. Well, there's a place I think in Crestline. It's called the Devil's Chair. Well, supposedly it looks like a castle. It's been shut down because so many people go there, and it's illegal to go there because people are saying there was the Illuminati in the 80s and 70s and 60s were killing people there. That's where they would have sacrifices. They would go up on top of this thing and sacrifice people to the devil. So back in those days, there was a lot of stuff going on. The Manson family, there was stuff going on in out in these valleys we lived in. There's groups that were known to do stuff, kind of like the Mansons. And the Manson family used to roam here in the 60s because they were from California, but they would come back and forth to these areas. A lot of people do. A lot of the desert and stuff. It attracts a lot of people. There's parts you would go here, there's hundreds of thousands of people, then you go another couple miles and there's no one around. It's all desert or mountain area. That's how weird California is, guys. So I hope you guys liked this episode. I enjoyed it. I really like doing it about Dogman. We didn't really have too much going off of this thing, but I could get into other stuff about Dogman. Like I said, we've done stuff with our friend Chris. And we've done other shows. And I've enjoyed it because I'm really intrigued with this creature. I think it exists. There's different versions, though. Next time maybe we can get Chris on and he could talk about it. And we can all do another show because usually we have a lot of views, a lot of comments, and they love it. You guys enjoy it. So I love you guys. There you go, James. There's my opinion. I want to say thank you for listening to us on Parax Radio. I love you guys. If you want to listen to any of our old shows, get a James Hershey YouTube page. You can watch everything. Even this show will be on in a couple days after we get it out. I'm glad you guys really liked the Kurt Cobain Ghost show. That was a lot of people liked it. You guys want to listen to it again? It's on this page, and they'll probably play it again on Parax. They like to play a lot of our stuff. We're a pretty popular show with them. We've got other countries that used to not listen to us now. So if you want any merchandise, we have clothing, shirts, blankets, whatever you want. He'll tell you where to go and what the site's called. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll do another one. I'm glad we got to do the Dogman. We haven't done anything about creatures for a while, so I'm really glad we got to do this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love you. Have a good night, Misfits, Sugar Lady, Monster Hunters, and Demon Lovers. Misfits, I love you, and blessed be.
It's always fun when we do a Dogman episode, but Dogman episodes are kind of hard to do sometimes. The reason is it's a rather new following that this creature has. Now, the creature itself isn't a new creature, but it became popular recently, and there are a lot of people that are really, really into Dogman. Now, you have people out there that know a lot more about Dogman than we do. That's 100% true. But you also have a hell of a lot of people that don't really know much about Dogman, but they've heard this here or heard that there or seen this, and they think they know about Dogman, so they will argue and scream and holler and fight. That is never productive. So when I say sometimes it's difficult to do these Dogman episodes, what I mean is not that there's no information to find, not that there's nothing to talk about. It's simply that a lot of times you're going to get in some arguments when you're talking Dogman. And that's just the sad truth of it. That will eventually work itself out and settle down. But this early into the popularity of a creature, because Dogman hasn't been out for 10, 15, 20, 30 years as far as being super popular. It's only within the last year or two that it gained all this popularity and people really started getting into it. Now, you had people that were studying, you had people that knew about it and were researching it. But as far as just the popular culture of it becoming very large and very big and everybody being into it, that didn't happen until very recently. So when you have that kind of situation going on, you're going to have a lot of people that are just getting introduced to this for the first time. They're going to be watching videos on YouTube about it. They're going to be reading things on Facebook about it that different people are saying. And with anything in the paranormal, you're going to have a lot of different opinions on things. Now, is there one opinion that's 100% correct and everybody else is wrong? I really don't believe that. I don't think that that's the case for almost anything in the paranormal. I mean, there is truth for each subject. But the problem is, with the paranormal, we don't really know a lot of those answers. Nobody does. There are things that we do know, and there are things that we can prove. But there are also a lot of things that nobody knows. But the problem is nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to admit, hey, look, I don't know what the hell this is. It doesn't make any sense. Here's my theory, but I don't know if I'm right. Nobody ever wants to say that. Instead, what you have is people that are going to argue and insult you and say they're right, even though they have absolutely no idea what the hell they're talking about most of the time. Now, I'm not just talking Dogman here. I'm talking overall in the paranormal this happens. You see it in the ghost stuff. You see it in the UFO stuff. You see it in every creature just about, at least the well-known creatures that a lot of people know about. You always have those arguments, and people always believe that they're right, and they will argue with you and call you stupid and call you everything in the book if you don't agree with whatever the hell they're saying. The problem lies when you have people that are spouting stuff that is obviously nonsense, but yet they believe that they're correct because they heard some guy on Facebook said it in a comment on a meme or something. So now they believe that they have knowledge nobody else has. They believe that they know exactly what they're talking about, when in reality, they don't know anything. They're not an actual researcher. They haven't really done the work to find out if this is true or not. But they believe that they're true, so they will argue with you and insult you. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I don't want anybody to become discouraged. If you are interested in the paranormal and you are trying to do actual research to try to learn the truth about things or try to prove that something exists, don't get discouraged by the trolls. Don't get discouraged by those people who are going to call you stupid or crazy or you don't know what the hell you're talking about or whatever. It happens to everybody. I have had people argue with me about things that I myself have done. Okay? I have went out and done X, whatever X happens to be. And I come on the show and I tell you, this is what happened. And I will have people argue with me about what happened and argue with me about this, that, or the other thing, even though they weren't there. They have no idea. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. I did it. But they'll argue just for the sake of arguing, I guess. So it happens to all of us. I see too many people in this field get discouraged and walk away. People that are good researchers. People that are actually being productive and doing something good for the paranormal field. And I've seen them get disgusted and fed up and just leave. Because people that are too lazy to do the work themselves start insulting them. And that's wrong, guys. Come on. You can disagree with me. That's okay. I'm not saying you got to take what I'm saying as gospel. If you have a difference of opinion, that's 100% cool. You're allowed to have that. You are allowed, if you're watching this on YouTube, to put that opinion down in the comments section. You can disagree with me. I'm not going to delete your comment. The only way that comment's going to get deleted is if you're disrespectful. If you're coming on and you're insulting somebody, calling them names, or just being a jackass, then your comment's going to disappear. And to be honest with you, half the times, those comments don't ever appear in the first place. Because they go, I don't know how it works on YouTube, but there's some comments that never even make it to the page. They just kind of get sent to a limbo. And every once in a while, I'll get a notification from YouTube to check the comment. And it'll be a comment that YouTube didn't post, but they want me to review to make sure it's okay to post. So I don't exactly know how all that works, but that happens sometimes too. But basically what I'm saying here is just be nice to each other. You can disagree. That's 100% cool. That's necessary. We can't always have the same opinion about something that nobody knows the truth about. Okay? Dogman is a prime example. There are people that know a hell of a lot about Dogman. And then there are people that know absolutely nothing about Dogman. But the problem is nobody knows everything about Dogman. Nobody knows for sure if these things are real or if they're not. Nobody knows for sure whether what we're talking about here is a separate creature or if it is a werewolf that people are just calling Dogman. There's people that have theories on it. They can present evidence and they can say, this is what I believe here, this is what I believe here, this is what this person has found, this is what this footage shows, that kind of thing. And all of that should be examined and looked at. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. What I am saying is nobody knows for sure. We don't have definitive DNA samples from both creatures that we can compare and say, okay, this is a Dogman, it's a separate creature from the werewolf because the DNA says so. We don't have that kind of scientific evidence that we can point to prove the case one way or the other. No matter what side you are on any of these arguments, just simply plead your case. Present your evidence, present your knowledge, share your knowledge with everybody, and let the masses, so to speak, make up their own mind. That's the way I look at things. There's no reason to fight and fuss. That being said, we're going to wrap this thing up. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where all the videos are. You can catch every episode of Staring into the Abyss there. I usually post them. Our show airs Sunday night at midnight on Para X. From there, it goes to the affiliates all over the world and gets played all over the damn place. Once it has aired on Para X and went out everywhere, then I will upload it to YouTube. So usually Monday during the day at some point, either the morning or the afternoon, is when that show will air on YouTube in most cases, unless there's some sort of emergency situation where I just can't post it because the internet is down or I'm not in town or something. But almost every time it's going to be up Monday. So if you miss the show on the radio, you can catch it on YouTube on Monday. If you are one of the people that simply watch the YouTube videos all the time, who are a subscriber to the YouTube channel and you don't listen on the radio, that's cool. You know the videos are up every Monday. Also there on the YouTube channel is Tales from the Abyss. That's the TV show that we do. There's multiple episodes there. Every episode we've done is there, but we also have done like little shorts and stuff like that that aren't full episodes, but they're like 10-minute videos or 15-minute videos or whatever. That's all up there. I also put all the paranormal news videos there. So like articles like we presented tonight or other articles that are interesting, but aren't enough to make an entire episode of Staring into the Abyss about, I will do a shorter version and put on the YouTube channel. So it might be a 10-minute video, it might be a 15-minute video, a 20-minute video, whatever. Those are all there. There's a ton of those. In all, there's several hundred videos that you can check out on the channel. Please go there and subscribe to the channel and just enjoy it. It's 100% free and we do it for you. The merchandise store, if you are interested in merch, is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. That's teespring.com/stores with an S on the end/staring into the abyss. That's where all the merch is. There's t-shirts, hoodies, posters, pillows, coffee mugs, phone cases, etc. All kinds of stuff there. The quality is good. The prices are decent. If you're into merch and you want to have staring stuff, that's where it all is. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Thank you for all the support that you give us because you guys are absolutely incredible. I just want to let you know that we greatly appreciate you and we love you. And until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.